Hi everyone, it's me, and as you can see from this rail, you're at the bottom of my bed again, and I'm doing a get ready with me, and I'm going to talk about the interesting film I watched last night. I've already cleansed. I've got this great new cleanser from Simple that makes my skin feel like literally like squeaky clean. Hear that? It's even more amazing when you use the towel. You literally feel your skin squeaking, it exfoliates it, and that's good for someone with oily skin. And so, yeah, I'm going to be talking about Saltburn. I finally saw Saltburn. I first heard about it because I was on a video call with a few of my friends, and one of them had just recently seen it at the cinema, and they were talking about it, and they were telling me how weird and gross it is, and I was just like, at first I was like, I don't want to see this film, it just sounds really gross and really weird, but I developed a kind of morbid sort of curiosity about it, and I finally saw it last night. I watched a load of reviews about it, and I became more and more curious about it. Yeah, I'm using my soothing facial toner from Simple, starting with skincare, yeah, and yeah, I watched it last night, and okay, so if you don't want spoilers, please don't watch this video. Don't watch this video, then come off in the comments, oh, you spoiled so much of it, because there's going to be spoilers. Like, just don't watch this video if you don't want any spoilers. So, I watched it with a bottle of wine, and I'm going to give you the synopsis now. I'm using my Revolution Skincare Zinc Niacinamide Serum, and so it's about this guy called Oliver who goes to Oxford University, which is fucking weird because I'm originally from Oxford. I was born there and I lived there for a significant portion of my life, but I don't live there anymore. I don't plan on going back there because it's just too many memories. Too much bad shit happened there, and so I have bad associations with it now. But yeah, he's going to Oxford University, and he's this slightly awkward guy. You always get the impression he's not like the others. He's not like all those cool, posh people at Oxford Uni. Like, when he walks in, he seems kind of weird. Like, I've seen a review that said that he was like Will from the In-Betweeners in that scene, and I can see that. You expect him any moment to get called a briefcase wanker, and I can see that. Yeah, he's kind of geeky. And yeah, he's a sort of fish out of water there, and then he meets this guy called Felix, who's the total opposite, who's good looking, charismatic, posh, everyone loves him, and stuff. And one day Felix has a flat tyre. Felix is played by, one thing that I noticed is Felix is played by Jacob Elordi, who I'm feeling he's in Euphoria or something, and he is also plays Elvis Presley in the Priscilla film, which I also really want to see. That's next on my list, Jacob Elordi film. And so he's got a flat tyre, and Oliver meets Felix and is going to give him, like, he's noticed him, he's become sort of obsessed with him, and he basically gives him his bike to ride to his class because he's going to be late and his bike got a flat tyre. And Felix's reaction to this is really extreme. He like hugs him and says, "I love you." It's sort of like, there's this video of my favourite person in the world, Taika Waititi, with Jason Momoa, where Jason Momoa gave him some kind of camera, and Taika's reaction to it was, again, just starts hugging him and even kisses his cheek and says, "I love you." It's really cute. It's a lot, what Felix does isn't as cute and adorable as what Taika does, but I sort of saw it as similar. And yeah, so after the inevitable Taika tangent, yeah, after that they sort of become friends. Felix starts inviting Oliver over for like to hang out with his friends, and they go to the pub and stuff because we do that all the time in England. Yeah, and but after a while, Oliver starts to annoy Felix. He starts tidying his room. It's really weird. Before that, we get the most quintessential Saltburn shot. We get Jacob Elordi on the floor, shirtless, smoking a cigarette and saying, "It's so hot." And like, yeah, it's just so coincidental. But then, sorry, Oliver starts to notice how messy his room is, Felix's room, and starts tidying it for him. And he says something like, only rich people can afford to be this messy, or something like that. And like, bitch, you should see my room. I'm not exactly rich, I'm not exactly creme de la creme, and yet you should see how awful and messy my room is. I'm very embarrassed about it. I don't want anyone to see how messy my room is. But like, yeah. And Felix gets annoyed by this. They do fall out over that. But then, not long afterwards, Oliver gets a call from his mum, and we don't actually see what happens. But next thing we know, we see Felix and Oliver arrive. I keep getting their names mixed around. Oliver arriving outside Felix's room, and he's crying, and he tells him that his dad just died, and apparently he makes out his mum's a drug addict or something. He's made out he comes from like a really sort of working class background, and because I feel like he's perceived that way, and excuse me, he's perceived that way, and so that's why people are quite snobbish to him, because they're all posh gits. And yeah, he Oliver then Felix then feels really sorry for Oliver and invites him over to his big posh estate for the summer. And yeah, I just need to go and wet my beauty blender and clean it, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. My beauty blender is all good now, but we're gonna go on to priming. So where was I? Oh yeah, did I put primer on? I'm gonna say I did. Okay, so he goes to Oliver, so Felix invites Oliver to his big posh mansion place. I don't know if it's a manor or a mansion. It's his posh big estate for the summer, because obviously he probably doesn't want to go home. And so they go there, and one thing I noticed was that there's this butler called Duncan, and he's this actor who was in an episode of Agatha Christie's Poirot where, spoiler alert, he plays the murderer. I won't say which one he's in, but like, recognised him immediately, and he tells him that he's early. And then this is when we meet Felix's family. One of them we've already met is his cousin Farley, who's this American guy who, fun fact, the two guys who play, Barry Keoghan plays Oliver, and Jacob Elordi plays Felix, and the funny thing is they're both supposed to be English, and yet Barry Keoghan is Irish and Jacob Elordi's Australian, but apparently the guy that plays Farley, who is supposed to be American, is actually British. I just find that kind of funny. And Farley, apparently, like, his mum sort of like isn't great off, and Felix's dad pays for his tuition. I'm using the BH Cosmetics Poison Shock Nightshade palette, and he like pays for his tuition and like pays for stuff for him and lets him stay at Saltburn, and he sort of seems to, and he doesn't seem to like or trust Oliver that much, Farley that is. And we also meet Felix's dad, who's played by Richard E. Grant, who, he's kind of a douche, he's kind of annoying. We also meet his mum, who's brilliantly annoying. She's awful. She's always calling everybody darling, and she's really posh and snobby and funny, and she's played by Rosamund Pike. Kind of significant that she's played by the woman in Gone Girl, since there's a little bit of that in there. yes, and we also meet his sister Venetia, who's like really troubled. Like, the mum is an asshole. Basically, the mum just constantly gossips and tells people Venetia's business. Venetia like has an eating disorder and self-harms and stuff, and like she's got some real issues and needs help, but the mum just kind of like gossips and stuff. Just she's a really bad mum. And so he's staying at Saltburn, and there's he's showing him around the place. So apparently there's this bed that Henry VIII that still has some of Henry VIII's spunk on, and like, why would anyone need to know that? That's really gross. And yeah, and then they end up sharing a bathroom, which is sort of foreshadowing, because one of the scenes that I heard about that my friend told me about that originally made me not want to watch the film is the bathtub scene. And so in the bathtub scene, Oliver sees Felix. He's in the bath and he's doing things to himself in the bath, like self-pleasuring himself. And after he's got out of the bath and got out of the way, Oliver goes in there and gets in the bath and like starts drinking his bath water that's got some of his personal sauce man essence in, and including goes and basically just snogs the drain. And I was expecting it to be more explicit than it was, but honestly the grossest thing about that is the noise. There's suddenly like this really loud slurping sound, like it's so gross, and that just made me wince. And there's lots of scenes of people just like lying around in the sun and stuff like that. And then there's like another scene where he gets off with Venetia and like she's on her period, and like he fingers her and eats her out like on her period. And so there's just blood everywhere, blood all over them. There's this one bit where I don't really get it, like he gets under the water and like his mouth's all got blood around, and he sort of looks like the Joker. It gives me Joker vibes. I'd seen that shot before, to be honest. And they decide to give him a birthday party at Saltburn. Yeah. And yeah, Oliver, what's his name? I keep forgetting people's names. Felix is sort of annoyed that he gets off with Venetia, but because Farley saw everything and told him. But Oliver tries to make out that Farley's making it up, and Venetia just came onto him and he rejected her. And which isn't true. Like, in that scene he's being quite like dominant with her, which when I see guys doing that in a film or whatever, it makes my skin crawl, because I've got some kind of like sexual trauma relating to that. But yeah. And there's also this scene where with Farley and Felix, where they're talking about him helping out the mum and Farley's mum, and there's this, because Farley's actually one of the only black characters, and there's this this bit where that's sort of addressed, and they're talking about why, and Oliver's like, why are you making it a race thing? Because like obviously there are issues there. And and then later there's a big twist where Felix basically gets Oliver's mum, talks to Oliver's mum, and gets and like arranges for Oliver to go home to talk it out with his mum, and we wonder, and Felix is going with him, and we wonder why Oliver is so kind of like worried about that, and it turns out it's because he's actually been lying about stuff. Like, he's not as kind of working class as he makes out he is. His house is actually very nice, and like, they're better off than my family was. Like, they own their own house and stuff, and it's a very nice house. And also his dad's alive. Yeah, because he made out his dad. So he also made out he was an only child, and that's not true. Like, he's got sisters. And obviously, like, understandably, Oliver's really annoyed that he was lied to and doesn't want anything to do with, no, Felix, I mean, and doesn't want anything to do with Oliver, and tells him that he can stay for his birthday party, but after that, and like, Oliver's just like, I just wanted to be friends with you. And then later at the birthday party, Farley says some things to him like, this is my life, but this is just going to be a story you tell your kids or something. And then what I find interesting is the fact that basically Felix goes and finds Oliver, like, in the maze, because they have this big maze at their house, and he's making out with this girl, and when Oliver arrives, this girl's like, you two are really gross, like, to Felix, and I found that really weird. And so he tries to confront Felix about it and tries to tell him, like, please, like, forgive me, please be my friend again, but like, Felix is having none of it. And also they just like have this argument, and there's this bit where it almost looks like they're going to kiss, and you probably know that Felix probably wants to. Oliver, I mean, what do I keep getting their names mixed around? And he wants to kiss him, but like, in the end, Oliver just leaves, but not before like leaving his bottle of wine there, which will be significant because the next day Felix is dead. They find his body in the maze, and like, the police are around, but everyone just tries really hard to get back to normal and talks about the party, like, after like Felix has just been found dead, and like, that's just really weird. And yeah, and they kind of yell at Farley for like wanting to talk about it, but like, even though they're trying to be normal, there's this real tension that I notice. And it turns out Farley was doing drugs or something there. Oh, I don't know if he was or if Oliver was lying. And like, well, Oliver accuses him of it and tells him, so obviously, so he's, yeah. And there's this bit where Farley was accused of stealing something or whatever. Forget what happened there. Oh, I need to get more concealer already. And yeah, so after that we see Oliver talking to Venetia, and while she's in the bath, and he starts, and apparently the parents call him Spider-Man or something, but she compares him more of a moth to a moth because like, he's attracted to shiny things and stuff. But later after that, we see that Venetia has killed herself. She slit her wrists. And an issue I kind of have is, like, when Oliver was found, like, no, not Oliver, Felix, I keep getting these names mixed around. When Felix was found, like, we sort of see his body, but not very kind of explicitly. But when when Venetia is found, like, she's in a big pool of blood, and we like see her blood really, like, it's more lingered on, I find. And actually something I forgot to say was another really gross scene was when they've buried Felix, like, Oliver sticks around at the end near his grave, and at first he's crying and stuff, but then we see he slowly starts to take his clothes off, and he like literally gets his dick out and starts fucking, he puts his dick in the soil and starts essentially having sex with the grave. It's fucking weird. And yeah, and after Venetia dies, Oliver's basically paid to go away by Rich D. Grant, the dad, and so he's paid a shit ton of money to leave and to cease all contact. Oh, where is my contour stick? And so he goes, but then we skip to the present day. Something I forgot to mention was there's this beginning bit where it's in the present day, and we see right at the beginning, we see Oliver talking about, like, was I in love with Felix or whatever. We don't know who he's talking to. We assume it must be his therapist or something. He needs therapy. And years later, like in the present day, we find that the Rich D. Grant character has died. We don't really know how that happened. But through that, like, Oliver's just reading like the obituaries, and we see his obituary, and we but through a so-called coincidence, Oliver ends up running into the mother. Her name's Elspeth, by the way, I forgot to mention, and they sort of like strike up a friendship. Like, she says he can come back to Saltburn. I don't know if they start dating or something. Like, if so, that's fucking weird, because he was like, how old was he? Like 18 when they met, and like he was friends with her son, so that makes it a bit weird if they started dating. But then it turns out she ends up like signing over the whole, like, through the will, she ends up making it so he'll inherit Saltburn. And we find out that in that present day scene where he's talking to someone that like could be his therapist or something, it's actually to Elspeth, and she's really ill and she's on a ventilator and she's probably going to die soon. We don't know what's happened or whatever. But right in the end, he basically takes out her ventilator and she dies, and he ends up inheriting Saltburn, and he ends up dancing around the place naked, like bollock naked, like his knobs out and flapping around, and that's another famous scene. And he's dancing to, of course, Murder on the Dance Floor by Sophie Ellis-Bextor. And yeah, and that's the end. And one character I forgot to mention was the character of Pamela, played by Carey Mulligan, who is a friend of the family who's left her abusive boyfriend or something, who's this, we don't meet the boyfriend, but he's this Russian billionaire or something. Excuse me. And she's just this kind of like really troubled woman who's staying with them, but they're starting to see her as a burden. And it's sort of like evident that these people take in people and then just kind of get bored with them. And one line I found quite funny was the mum is super annoying but super funny. She won't stop calling people darling. It's so annoying. But when she first meets Oliver, she's like, oh, isn't he lovely looking? And then Felix is like, yeah, I told you he wasn't a minger. And oh, I love that word. So fucking British. And yeah, it was a really weird film, but it was good. It wasn't as weird as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting to like see like cummy bathwater going into his mouth and like seeing the cum going into his mouth, but we don't really see it that explicitly, and we just see like, we just hear it. That that noise that it makes was just so much. It was just so amplified and so just... And we're going to give blush on the nose now. To get more blush on the nose, get a little e-girl look. I'm doing more of a pinky look today with red lipstick, or a sort of cherryish lipstick. And yeah, so that was Saltburn, and I saw that like people had misinterpreted it and assumed it was some kind of like political sort of eat the rich type film, but I then heard people who've actually seen it saying it really isn't, and it really isn't. Like, it's more of just a story about a weird guy's obsession with another guy and his family, and him ending up taking all that and dancing around naked around his house. I'm doing powder. I sometimes need to stop talking in order to concentrate on what I'm doing, so sorry if that is weird and boring for you. But a very specific way of where I place my setting powder. So yeah. And when it turns out that like he killed the mum, he also killed Felix. He poisoned him with that bottle of wine, and he also put the razors there so that Venetia would kill herself, so he kills Venetia by proxy. And apparently Pamela's died. We don't really know how that happened. Like, some of the funny lines from the mum also include, she said she used to be a lesbian, but women are just too wet for her. And yeah, one thing I found funny was there's been a lot of TikToks about Saltburn, and one of them was this one that was if Saltburn was set at IKEA, and it's honestly so funny. It has Oliver wanting to fuck a bathtub. Like, I don't know if like he wants to fuck inanimate objects, but I feel like I found that one funny, but it's not quite accurate because Oliver didn't want to have sex with the bathtub. Obviously it was just because Felix had been in there. I'll link the TikTok in question below. But this guy gets all the voices right. And put powder on. I'm now going to do my eyebrows. I've got a load of other films I want to see, including the Priscilla film with Jacob Elordi, who plays Felix, as Elvis Presley. And I've heard it's not a film for Elvis fans, which I'm not, because it doesn't paint him in a very good light. Because he essentially started seeing Priscilla when she was 14, or like he met her when she was 14, which is really weird. And it allegedly cheated on her loads too. and all that is depicted in the film, so I want to see that next. And I also want to see a load of Taika Waititi films that I've been meaning to see for a while, such as Boy and Hunt from the Wilderpeople, and his new one, Next Girl Wins. And I also want to see the second Chicken Run film, which I'm glad they have not brought back Mel Gibson as Rocky, because look into that guy. If you see what that guy has allegedly got up to over the years, you'd understand why I'm not a fan of him. But yeah, that film looks quite good. I originally found it really weird that they brought back Mrs. Tweedy, because I was like, isn't Mrs. Tweedy dead? I was like, why is Mrs. Tweedy the villain? Why didn't they like come up with a new villain? But I can sort of see it working. Yeah, because I assumed like she'd had the door fall on her at the end of the first film, that Mrs. Tweedy was dead. So I was like, why are they bringing back Mrs. Tweedy? But I can sort of see how it would work now I hear more about the plot. And I have to move again to avoid the fucking pins and needles, but yeah. Now I'm going to tight line my eyes. Tight lining my eyes, doing the upper waterline. And the lower one. Go. And watching me looking for a particular brush I need. I'm going to do my cat's eyeliner. Like this. Like that. Like that. Just doing the kitty cat eyeliner. Check that equal. Keep shaping the liner like that. My little cat eyes. And have to move again because I keep starting to get pins and needles. It's so annoying. And there we go. And now we're going to, now I should have finished baking. You can get me out of the oven now. Like that. Okay, I was like to, it always blots out the nose blush, so I had to add a bit more. Like that. There you go, and now for highlighter. Highlighter. Along my nose too, my brows. I've noticed a lot of people literally just like to apply everything on the cheeks and nothing else. They'll just do like bronzer and contour here and highlighter, but I like to do the full package. But then to emphasise my cheekbones, I like to take a smaller brush and There you go. Blend it all a bit like that. There we go. And now for the fiddly bit, we're going to do my lashes. So I've got a pair of lashes and get the glue. Great, here's my lash glue and a pair of tweezers that I can take. Beautiful. Beautiful. Squeeze. The other one. Okay, so now I'm doing lips. Red one. Start doing the lining, like this. Leaving the middle. And then there we go. And lip gloss. There we go. That's my lips. mascara just to make it over. And then there we go, we're going to brush my hair like this. And this on. There we go. Oh, why is my hair so spidery? So spidery and gross. There you go. I wish it would be more fluffy and less spidery. There we go, that's the finished look. Just a sort of... Oh no, it isn't. I've got to do my little hearts. Go. There we go. That's my look today. There we go.